need to talk about mum. Oh, he's going to join us in the booth today? Is that right? Yeah, definitely. He's going to be there for a little bit, though. Okay. In the studio with us today is Kingsley, the Wonder Cat. I don't think I have on the YouTube channel talked about how Kingsley came to be, but I haven't talked about it on the podcast. Welcome back to the BARROW Podcast, the show where a self-hating boomer mum and her disgruntled boomerang son reunite to have the conversations they've been avoiding and where they utilize their combined insight into divorced, dysfunctional families and mental illness to write a memoir together. I am the disgruntled millennial son, Tobe Allen, writer and mental health advocate, and as ever, as always, I'm here with my mum, Deborah.
Hi, Tobe.
Hello, Mother. Welcome back.
Thank
Here we sit. Now,
Yes.
you're in some sort of pain today? Back pain?
It's easing. It has eased.
Psychic pain, perhaps, as well?
Always.
Always?
Mm.
Okay. You're a disturbed individual.
Well,
Is that right?
with all that disturbance, it's wonder I have not been more ill physically.
That is something that surprises me, actually, and I've said that many times before, is that, like, it's surprising to me that you didn't develop, worse manifestations, physical manifestations for your stress, as in that you haven't had, and maybe we can talk about this, because to a certain degree you have. If you can hear the bell, that's Kingsley scratching himself wildly down there on the floor. So it is surprising to me that you haven't had quote unquote worse manifestations physically of
sure.
the stress and that kind of thing. However,
Because you think you carry so much anxiety all the time that it would manifest in other ways.
yeah, and it did manifest for me. I mean, like, my stress became later, after I'd sort of left home. I went through really bad. I had a terrible relationship with myself, of course, and was really throwing myself at work within an environment that was, stressful. Like, I casual contracts at a university where I was teaching, and I did get to a point where stress boiled over for me. I ended up with a staph infection once that kind of shut down the entire left side of my body. Yeah, staph infection.
Oh.
Yeah, which the guy who treated me, the GP, was like, I haven't seen one of these in like 30 years.
Really?
Because they're medieval. They're from ancient times. But that was stress. That was so much stress that my body started shutting down. And then, of course, I had I turned to alcohol, and that got really, really, really bad for me.
Yeah.
And then later, some drugs and stuff involved on top of the alcohol, which really, everything just started getting really scary. But like with you, it was always amazing to me that you weren't an alcoholic.
No, I didn't need to go to something to numb myself.
Yeah, but see, that seems more perverse to me.
Yeah, I'm agreeing with you.
Yeah.
And, you know, when I talk to friends who might be going through a difficult time and they're stressed, well, they're not sleeping. See, basically, I've always had good sleep habits. So it's
Have you?
Yeah, I very rarely do I have nights where I'm awake all night. I might have been worried about something through the day, or I might be worried about something the following day, anticipation anxiety with me, but I will sleep.
Right.
I will get up with an awful gut feeling,
Yes.
nerves, butterflies.
Yeah.
If you want to use that old-fashioned word.
Yeah. Well...
But it's interesting physically, this is quite weird. Once I get up, that physical feeling leaves me.
Yet you do wake up every single day of your life with a churning pain in the guts. Yeah, you described that to me not so long ago, relatively, but you know, a few years ago now, and I was so miffed, I was confused. I was like, hang on, what do you mean? And you're like, oh, well, you know, I just have my usual stomach ache in the morning. Yeah. And I'm like...
That's not usual.
That's not usual. What are you talking about? Oh, well, you know, I just wake up and I have my horrible stomach.
And then I get on with the day and I'm fine. And I repress it and it goes away.
Yeah. And I'm like...
And foolishly, naively... I thought medication would
Kingsley.
take all that away.
Yeah. I'm going to let the cat out.
Yeah.
The cat out of the bag. The cat out of the studio. Sorry, bud. Go on. Off you go. Off you go. Helps if you get away from the door as it's opening.
Yes. Yes, so I really thought, I batted away the idea that I needed any kind of mental health intervention in terms of medication. Yeah. Batted that away for years. Until I just turned the corner with that and thought, yes, okay, I'm going to give medication a go. And I think that's why I confused the two. Yes, there's been changes with that medication, like a calmer demeanour.
Yeah.
Mostly.
Yes, I agree. I'm laughing.
But when you say, well, look what medication's done, I think, well, no, why am I still waking up with a sick tummy? See, I thought that would take all that away.
Yeah, see, this is the thing. It's like medication is a foundation for change. You have used medication
as the answer.
Which is common for Westerners.
Yeah.
But it's so funny. It's like you were so resistant to any medical intervention. Then when you got it, you expected it to be the whole
answer.
The whole answer. And I find that inherently contradictory. But what I want to sort of go back to just quickly is like, I'm not one of these millennials who thinks that, well, look, I don't think this is a millennial perspective really, but I understand that when I say, hang on, you're not meant to be feeling sick in the morning, there's a tendency for a pocket of people to think, I believe, that you're meant to feel good all the time. I'm the last person who thinks that. Like, I truly am. And there's a fine line between believing that your life should be without problems and believing that your life should be a little better, right? I never was saying to you, you shouldn't have a stomach ache in the morning with nerves because you should be happy all the time and life should be without difficulties. No, I don't believe that. No, but I also, and I do think people need to accept to a certain extent their, challenges and difficulties, that they do need to accept their eccentricities. However, I also think that there is a difference between sort of a blind faith acceptance and then an acceptance after a period of questioning and examination. And so there was always that kind of cultural difficulty in the family of like, you just put up with things, you just accept things, and like, to me, kind of like a turning off your brain that is useless, actually. And so like when you were saying, oh, I just have my usual stomachache in the morning, I'm going, oh, okay, but have you ever mentioned it to anyone? That was more my problem. And you know, the answer is no. I've never seen a doctor for this. I've never mentioned that. I've never
held on to certain things that alleviate those things too. Now, before COVID, I'm always saying before and after COVID, but before COVID, I was trialing different things. I was doing some meditation. And I was trying out mindful activities, but it never, nothing with me ever becomes practice.
Why haven't you done meditation since medication?
I don't know.
See, that's what's driven me so crazy here.
That's what you mean. Medication is a start to making some changes.
Well, medication,
and true to the family form. Oh, I've tried that. Tick.
Yeah,
I was just about to say the family narrative in terms of going to see a counsellor or a psychologist or a psychiatrist. If you've done that now, you've been for 3 times. Is that fixed?
Yeah.
That's the.
Yeah.
You'd agree with me, wouldn't you?
Of course I agree
That's
with
the
you.
mentality.
Yeah,
no, this is a lifetime commitment. I need to do this.
Yeah, your problems are never big enough to change your behaviour. You know, I think that's what has always frustrated me and always has been so sad is that nothing is ever really important enough to change. And I find that really weak-minded, and I find it really irresponsible.
It's the antithesis of the narrative of being strong.
Yeah, oh, absolutely. I think
and it's also oh no, I did have a thought then, which was relevant.
That's okay.
It's gone.
Yeah. That's all right. It'll come back into your mind down the line, I think. Yeah, no, I have always found it just sort of shocking that go on.
That's what I was going to say. The family narrative, oh well, that's just who we are. You're a worrier, your mother's a worrier, and that's just it.
Yeah, there's a line of, there's an inbuilt defensiveness in there, ultimately, where it gets to a point of, oh yeah, I'll try a bit of change, but hang on, you're trying to change me. You know, like, it's sort of, wait a minute here.
Yeah.
You know, I'm actually all right the way I am, and this is a bit of bullshit.
Yes, it's like a pretend acceptance. I accept who I am.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, it's funny. Like, but I've been sort of going at you where I'm like, Mum, you're on medication. That's the beginning. Like, now it's time to put the practice in, like the meditation, for instance. See, it's so funny to me. You were doing it before.
Yes.
But now I've got medication. I've got a pill that's meant to fix me. And, it hasn't fully. And it's like, well, no, of course not. But what I find interesting in all of this is, like, you know, where we're at with the book, which is this adolescent period. And, you know, we talked about friendship in the last episode and you know, your relationship to relationships. But the most fascinating period about adolescence is of course, puberty and coming into a body, and part of that
body issues.
Yeah, and part of that is gender, as well. But, you know, a couple of episodes you talked about sort of retreating to the bathroom at lunch times when you transitioned into secondary school. And while that eventually stopped, it didn't really stop so much as it evolved into going to the music room during lunch times and being equally avoidant, but just in a sort of a different way.
That's true. That's true.
Throughout this period, though, you've also described to me things that, I mean, truly, I have been pretty shocked by some of what you've described, and I'm shocked by, I guess the extreme of some of it. I'm shocked by, in a sympathetic and sad way, like I feel for the adolescent you that had these experiences and do make sense of the person you are and became. But I'm also shocked as well, sort of for myself in a defensive way, where I'm like, hang on, if you went through that, why didn't you
know what you were going
what
through?
I was going through, or intervene in a different way with me? Because one of the, well, several...
I think there's a history of never learning from anything.
Okay. Well,
that's a huge
statement.
statement.
But obviously, look, you know, it really comes down to, I guess, you know, let's just go straight into it. Bedwetting and periods.
Right, yes. I thought you were more concentrating on the periods, but before the periods was the whole wetting saga.
I didn't have periods.
Yeah.
Growing up. I did wet the bed though, which is what I'm saying. Hang on, didn't you notice? Because that was quite an ordeal. See, you've never really talked about it, and then when we started getting into it recently,
it was an enormous ordeal.
It was such an ordeal, and you kept giving me more and more and more information, and I'm going, what the hell is going on? This is insane.
Yeah. Well, I'm thinking of... and it probably was happening younger. I can't remember the really young, but I'm talking about 9,
Can
10.
we just pause the episode for one second? Could the person outside the studio stop blowing their nose, please? or shut the middle door, please. And blow the nose on the other side of that other door, please. No, you're okay. I'm just being an idiot.
He's being an idiot.
All right, so you're 9 or 10 years old.
So the vivid memory is I'm obviously wetting the bed, right?
Yes.
And of course the bed then has to be covered with, you know, plastic sheeting and rugs and things.
Right.
To try and, you know, mitigate the washing and all this sort of thing. And then, now we are still in the education department house, so this is...
Again, the details don't matter.
Okay. Well, I'm not an adolescent. It's 9 or 10.
This is a precursor to adolescence.
Yeah.
But what I'm saying...
So we, on doctor's advice, this is not, you know, it doesn't come out of nowhere.
I know.
We're going to trial a new thing.
A new device.
Which requires a sort of board-like apparatus placed under the sheeting, attached to an alarm. Now this is, if you look this up, and you research it.
I've done the research on this.
It's a real phenomenon.
It is called a We Alert alarm.
Is it really?
Yes.
Okay. So through the night, and it was always suggested that I slept heavily. I didn't wake up with the feeling, I have to go to the toilet. I think that was sort of the basis of it. So the idea of this thing is that when you start to go to the toilet, go wee. Oh God, I can't even say the word. When you start to wee, this will set off an alarm. So you will wake up and you will measure the patch.
So
you
what it
will
is...
measure. You've got a spreadsheet to fill in.
Yeah. So can I describe it? Like, so what it is it's like it's a board, and then on top of the board there's like a sort of like a strip where the child's, you know, pelvis is lying essentially. And so when the child starts to urinate, it triggers a mechanism, an alarm goes off to wake them up. And you measure the patch of urine on this strip that's been left on the strip. And over time, that patch is going to get smaller and smaller. And the child is going to learn to wake up when they need to go to the toilet. Now, if that sounds horrendous and like the kind of thing that could fuck you up permanently, it 100% is. And the research, the research on the link between psychology and child bedwetting, let's just say that that's like, it's one of those things in psychology that starts off in a place that's like no good for anyone, where it's like, you know, you're wetting yourself because you know, you're a demonic entity, really, and and it doesn't really get much better. Like it's seen, seriously, it's seen as like
a major problem. It's
seen as a moral failing. Like child bedwetting is kind of a moral failing on the child.
Yeah, like what's wrong with you?
Yeah, what's wrong? But it's, yeah, it's like a, ugh, you know, and it really doesn't psychologically, it really doesn't evolve much past that until honestly about the 1990s. And they're like, oh, kids are wetting beds because they're fucking traumatized. And it's like, and then from then on, it's like, oh, this is a sign of PTSD. The child should go and talk to a counsellor about who's been, you know, touching them. And that's honestly really what it is, or that they have a nervous condition.
Well, it was seen as a physical condition. It was seen as you can't wake up. You're sleeping heavily. Yeah. I'm sure that's how it was viewed there. But then, now I'm sitting here now and not being able to realise the trauma that would involve. Like,
it's so
I'm
horrible.
now getting right up, I'm waking right up and measuring and filling in charts, which are checked, as you can imagine, religiously by the two parents involved.
Yeah, of course. So
and then
it's an invitation to neuroticism. I mean, that's what it is. It's a fucking contraption. And it's basically going to make the person neurotic.
One day it turns into a moral fiasco.
Yes.
Because...
compounded by your parents.
And I only remember this contraption in those years. This is 9 or 10.
Yeah, I know.
Okay?
Yeah.
We move on from that contraption.
Yeah.
Yeah, so one day... In fact, I don't think the alarm's gone off. So one day I wake up and there's only a tiny little patch there, and I'm thinking to myself, oh, I'm not going to alert anyone about this. I haven't been alerted by the alarm. It's that small. I'm just going to...
You're not going to register it in
I'm not going to register it. I'll just take the sheets off and put them in the laundry. I'll be helpful until they're discovered.
And they are discovered.
They're discovered. And it becomes a moral dilemma that I have lied about this.
Well, you're a liar. You're trying to cheat the system and get away with things.
That's what I remember about that whole incident.
Yeah. It's a thorough... So on one hand, you're already...
moral damnation.
Yeah, on the one hand, you're already, you know, whatever effect having to get wired up to this contraption nightly is having on you.
Yes, I can't imagine. You'd be so scared about going to bed.
Which is nothing positive. And then on top of it, you've got your parents' condemnation for sort of trying to get away with this thing. I mean, you know, it's so funny because like your habits around bathroom behaviour, like you are the most expedient urinator I've ever met. Like you know, as a guy, typically you're quicker than a woman in a bathroom scenario, typically, right? But I've never beaten you. Like if we've gone to the loo before going into a movie or something, you're waiting, tapping your heel outside the bathroom by the time I get out. Like every single time, you're so fast, and I'm like, to the point where I'm like, did you even go? Like what the hell?
But you know, I think that comes of not being a nuisance. Because my mother was always waiting.
Yeah, but where do you think it all comes from in terms of not being a nuisance? I mean, you're hooked up to a contraption every night to not, you know, like
yes.
this. It creates an atmosphere. Let's say, you know, a polite way of saying it is it creates an atmosphere.
Yeah, but a lot of that was related to that. Oh, well, if we were going somewhere, Mum was always ready to go because, I mean, she didn't do makeup and all that sort of thing. So she wasn't, she was always dressed and ready to go. And Dad and I'd be hurrying to join her, right? And that also comes from later on when it doesn't come from, it leads to later on when you're a little boy and we're on trips, I have to go fast so I can deal with you.
Yeah.
So it's all that, all in relation.
I understand that.
I don't know now when that machine was dispensed with. I don't know whether it was dispensed with after the moral incident or not. But the bedwetting itself went on
for a long time,
and it really affected my social life.
Yeah, because you couldn't go to sleep.
I couldn't go to sleepovers. I was too scared to. I remember going on a school camp and going to the toilets and padding myself up with the big pads that Mum had bought me. Like,
oh, Mum.
Yeah, and then putting the flannelette pajamas over the top and then going and giggling with the girls on the bunk. And hoping to God that I didn't go through the night, or if I wetted, I could dispose of it before they were up. And when does that all stop? I'm sure it didn't stop suddenly, but it fades out as other bodily functions kicked in.
Yeah, which were even worse. So, what I'm saying to you, and what I've been trying to convey to you as we've been doing this. Do you not see how clearly your relationship with your body is, it's a problem. It's not something to make you feel bad about. As in, like, there is a whole set of information and reasoning. Like, but what I find so horrendous is that no good parenting intervention like measures are ever taken. There's nothing positive that comes out of any of this. Like, that's what I find so sad in all of this. It's like, do you not see a child who is just having trouble all the time? And do you not then attempt to address it? That's what I can't understand. You have been supplying me with information since we started doing this, and the more information you give me, it's like a dossier of
bad parenting.
Well, but there is so much information that you're not doing well on some fundamental level.
Yes. But then towards the end of adolescence, you get the fat shaming as well.
I just find your experiences, like, we got up and had coffee this morning and we're talking about, like, you're nervous today because of, you had to, you've got some tasks to do and you're in a little bit of pain with your body today. And I'm like, I'm just sort of like, there's never been a healthy relationship with the body, and I think it's really permeated your existence.
Yeah,
like
sure.
It's upsettling, unsettling, and it's upsetting. Upsettling.
Upsettling, that's a good word. Yeah.
But anyway, yeah, I mean, because I had all those experiences too. Like I unfortunately had really bad bedwetting problems, and related to nerves, being very unhappy, being scared. I would wet the bed all the time before I went on access visits, and then also there was the humiliation of being on access visits, and sort of the ordeal of being treated like a child problem, like, oh God, this kid is here and oh, it wets the fucking bed, and sort of just getting like, just feeling stupid and humiliated and small, and then that exacerbating the problem itself, plus the trauma and all that sort of stuff that I was dealing with. Yeah, this is terrible, terrible stuff, and it doesn't set you up to really take on the world. It sets you up to avoid the
hide
world.
from it.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Of course it does.
Yeah.
And then your later experiences with your period was also seemingly on the towards the higher end, like as in difficult,
problematic.
Like,
yes.
like as in you experienced a lot of pain.
I had a lot of pain in the early days of the period, and I had really heavy periods for for a child, I suppose. So there was always that worry of getting to the toilet and doing looking after yourself through the school day, and then sometimes I even had to be picked up because the pain was too much. Yeah.
See, that is extreme.
And I think one day I did make a mess of my school tunic, and it was a warm day. I put my raincoat on over the top and rode the tram home. So there's always embarrassment,
shame.
Huge embarrassment and shame around what really is just, a normal occurrence.
But it's not to you in the moment. I mean,
No.
I mean, if you experience intense shame with your body repeatedly, it's going to have an effect.
Yeah, it's like the body will let you down. Attitude.
Yeah. I mean, like, I don't think I understood just how ashamed of my body I am, and how much body.
See, that's so played out in your life as well. Then I didn't see that.
Yeah. I mean, I have so much body shame.
Yes.
I mean, it started for me with the bedwetting, but then being overweight, and then carrying that on, and I have had a really unhealthy relationship with my body, with eating, with my appearance, all my life, and hating my body, like it's not good enough. It lets you down. It's all that sort of stuff is really baked in with me. But like for you, I really do think. I think those feelings are intensified in women. I think it's a bit of a myth that it doesn't happen for men. I mean, like, I experience extreme shame in my body. Like to the point that later in life I was doing crazy things like covering mirrors in my apartment because I didn't want to see my appearance.
Okay. Yeah. And I think when you're a sensitive being, all those things just make you want to avoid any sort of social time too.
Well,
I've got obvious examples which I've just talked about with sleepovers and what people were normally going about their business doing. I wasn't involved.
Well, it's a foundational relationship, I think, with sexuality too. So So,
Yep.
you know, how you experience puberty and how you experience your relationship with your body, you know, if it's a side of shame or not, and to what extent.
Yep.
And then that sort of rolls into sexuality and your encounters with other people from a sexual perspective.
Sure.
That all unfolds, and I really do feel like if you don't get like a good run early, it can really
you adopt certain attitudes, and
it can really set you up. I mean, it's an establishing phase. It's a very important phase, and I think if you have a run on of body shame, pain, and then avoidance and awkwardness,
you're not going to be in a fit state to approach relationships in a healthy way.
And sex as its own thing, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not setting you up for.
It's not setting you up for a healthy exploration of body.
Not at all. Not at all.
Oh, it's just my body. Oh.
And if you feel that way about your body, why would you want to share it with someone else?
Yeah, that's right.
You know,
that's
like
right.
It's not making sex particularly appetizing, appealing.
No.
Like, it's causing that kind of a reaction.
Yes.
I would suggest. I would think.
Yes.
You're someone who doesn't even like to touch meat for cooking, so.
Please, don't do that. Don't do that. And then, of course, I'm going to quickly change the subject. You're almost presented like a piece of meat.
Well, look, I mean, that's
a whole other thing we need to get into.
That's maybe we'll get into the men and clothes and stuff side of things next time. I don't know. Like, I've just got my little notes here, and I'm trying to look at, you know, what we're at here on this episode. I think, you know, what this all made me think of. I was thinking of one of my favorite film genres is body horror. So like David Cronenberg, who made movies like Videodrome and The Fly and all that sort of stuff. He actually has a movie called Dead Ringers, which I really want to watch with you. It's got Jeremy Irons plays two twin gynecologists.
Oh. And
it's based on a true story. It's really wonderful. It's really
dark.
Yeah. Really dark. Cronenberg did a lot of kind of gory horror, but this one is more psychological. It's just pared back.
Yeah.
We should watch that before the next episode. It'd be interesting to get your attitude on that. It was actually developed. Hey, this is something I've been meaning to watch. It was adapted into a TV show, a one-off 10 episodes with Rachel Weisz playing the twin gynecologists.
Right.
Yeah. They're male in the Cronenberg movie, and then obviously it's female in the TV adaptation. And that was that would be really interesting. Yeah. Maybe we could watch that and sort of like, let's watch those. Yeah. But it just made me think of those films, and Brian De Palma is another director that I love, who made Carrie, which is, all about, like, essentially there's this motif of a girl going through puberty in the film. And like, these are really strong, primal, aspects of our nature that, as I say, if you don't get like a clean run early on, you are set up for some difficulties down the track. Absolutely. And
those things are repressed.
Yes, and I think that the really basic acknowledgement of that fact has never been intact. Like, it's never been there. No one's ever said, hey, fundamentally, didn't have a clean run through puberty, and here we are with our relationships and sexuality being somewhat, you know, like giving us difficulty in life. I mean, that's very basic. And for me, what was always so shocking was that wasn't the narrative. And I'm like, hang on, the narrative's pretty clear here. Like, and the more information you supply me, the more everything makes sense.
It's evident in my life.
Like, there's
and then the choices I make later on.
The choices,
Absolutely.
the choices are really clear. They come from something. And that's what is kind of been rewarding about doing this research, but also frustrating. Is like, oh my God, it's so
clear, the connections.
Yeah, and I don't mean that in a, look, hindsight's always 20/20 and all that sort of thing, but like, there are some pretty clear connections.
Indications of the people we become.
Yeah, absolutely.
And the experiences that we have. Yeah, that's true.
The last thing I would say is, like, in my experience, something that often doesn't get talked about much by men is, like, the experience I had, and maybe I wrote a piece on it. Maybe I should read the piece to you or something. But it's like, it's so embarrassing to say out loud, but whatever. Like, as a little boy, I had to go to a pediatrician to have my my foreskin pulled down. Yes. And it's something that happens because you have to learn how to clean it. Like, if you're circumcised, that's you don't have to deal with it. But, like, if you're not,
you have real difficulties. Yes.
Yeah, but I'm not the only one, because I read, I can't remember what it was, but I read something where someone described almost the exact same thing. And I was like, that's interesting. Because obviously physically it's a site of, it's got to be cleaned manually. And well, it doesn't just clean itself, obviously. And because of everything that's going on down there with sweat and urine and all sorts of things, it can get, smelly. It can get, but it can also be infected, and all sorts of things can go wrong with that. And so you have to learn to clean it, but it isn't sometimes the most, you wouldn't think to do it, because unless you're in the process of doing it, it's kind of closed off. It's sort of, you don't think about it, but also it's very painful to do the first time, because you have to roll it back. Yes. And are you're upset with how graphic this is getting?
No, because there were times when I had to help with that.
You had to do it when I was a little kid.
Yeah.
But I remember I had to go and see a pediatrician, and I had to have it done for the first time. And it's like, I've never experienced pain like that in my life.
Okay.
Ever. I've never experienced anything more painful since. And it was like this searing pain. And
so therefore that leaves you with, that's associated with pain. That organ.
Yeah.
That part of my body.
Yeah.
And I get that.
I find it interesting, because, like, I don't hear, I mean, you don't hear men talk about anything important, but it's just football and party politics. But I really do think that that's a whole train with me, where I'm like, oh my God, that memory of how painful that experience was as a little boy, and feeling very defensive and shame again and all that sort of stuff.
Well, that's the same as what we've just been talking about with me. So the body is part, I wet the bed and I have gross periods. Why am I going to reveal that to anyone?
Yeah, I'm the same. Same boat.
I get it. Yeah.
if you feel ashamed of your body, what can I say? Stop listening to this show.
Yeah, sure.
Or send us some money. If you feel ashamed, you'll feel better if you send us some money. So go to Buy Me a Coffee. The link's in the description, and give away as much as you can. That'll cheer you up, and it'll cheer us, and it'll cheer us up too. So that's what you ought to do. Aside from that, these are awkward things to talk about, and I feel like they don't get talked about enough intergenerationally.
Yeah, sure.
So yeah. Sorry, it got a little body horror today, but it was important to address, I think. Yeah. All right, see you on the next one. Bye.